Welcome back to Bros in a Landfill. Really glad we're actually not fulfilling jury duty today.
Your hosts for today are Prosecutor Dizzy.
Hello, everybody. It's me, Prosecutor Dizzy. I'm here in the courtroom. Honorable Judge presiding, I think. Wait, that's not my job to say this. What? I don't know court rules.
Defense Attorney Tar.
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
So does that mean I have to lose to you the whole cast?
Yeah.
And
okay.
I am your honorary honor.
No. You start off by kicking my ass, and then you accidentally say something to spur an idea for me, and then I promptly steamroll you.
Okay.
I believe I have the bananas that Mr. Tar saw at the crime scene.
It was actually a baseball glove.
Spoilers much. Anyways, I'm the judge. I'm Try, which is kind of a funny dynamic we're doing here because this is more of an episode we're going to be going back and forth about Ace Attorney.
It's really funny to me because Try is in the middle where I'm sitting and Tar is on the far left where I'm sitting, so we actually fit the rules really well.
Okay, that's funny. I was just going to say that it's more like Tar is going to be like the defense attorney for Ace Attorney 3. I'm going to be like the prosecutor against Ace Attorney 3. And Dizzy's the judge because he hasn't played Ace Attorney 3.
I have, actually.
Okay, you have.
But
what do you
it's
thoughts
been
on
a
Ace Attorney
while.
3?
We're just going to be... I feel like this topic in particular is a long-ass time coming.
Yeah,
Episode
since, like,
41, finally talking about Ace Attorney.
Yeah, well, since like trying a landfill, that godforsaken episode that needs to be deleted off the channel.
Since we
No.
fucking joined our fucking community.
Trying a landfill, I blame myself. I was in a bad mood.
I was in a bad mood too,
sabotaging
so
the whole thing.
I don't
It
remember
was
what
weird
was
on
going
me.
on in episode 5 with me, but...
Go watch it right now.
No,
and
fuck
then
you.
no, fuck you. Anyways, so Tar has just recently finished playing through the Ace Attorney. Was it the H? Was it
the
HD trilogy
HD
on
trilogy?
Switch?
Yes, that is exactly right.
Yeah.
is that the one that added in the special Meow Cat boss fight?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're all on the same page.
Excellent.
Ace Attorney
So
spoilers abound. If you fear spoilers for this 15-year-old game, fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys,
exactly.
spoiler alert. Phoenix Wright wins most of his cases.
All of his cases.
No, there was that one time that he lost.
Oh yeah.
There
So
was
was that the
plenty
one
of
where he
times
forged
that he
evidence?
lost.
Yeah, he loses a fair amount.
Wasn't there a line in Trials and Tribulations itself where Phoenix mentions that he's lost cases?
No, I don't remember that.
I think no. It was in Justice for All,
Justice-
and Maya Fey was like, "We should have a shrine. We should have like a thing for all of our past victories." And then Phoenix is like, "What about our past losses?" And Maya's like, "Let's just pretend those didn't happen."
Which is
No,
it's weird.
What about, no, it's Phoenix going into a hypothetical. Like, what if we lose? What if we lose?
No,
Yeah.
I swear.
What if we lose a
No,
case?
because
Then Maya's just like, we'll just blow over that.
well, 2-4 is his first official loss. I mean,
Indeed.
Really?
yeah, 2-4 is his first official loss.
Oh, that's weird. I just assumed he had cases outside of the ones you play, and that he lost more than one
Well,
of them.
you know what? It depends on which case she said this in. Because if it was
It was 2-3.
2-1. Okay,
Yeah, I think
see,
it was
if
2-3.
yeah, because if it was 2-1,
Yeah,
it
because they were
makes sense.
talking about the
2-1.
carnival.
Yeah, because 2-1 takes place after the fact, which is really weird.
Speaking of
2-1?
Game 2, am I the only one who thinks it's the worst game in the series still?
I think
Well,
it's
not the worst game in
I
the
don't think
series,
it's
but the worst game in the original trilogy.
I think I don't really have okay, for me in a lot of ways I dislike Trials and Tribulations the worst. Each of the games bring something different to the series. I think 2
Yeah,
has
that's
some
right.
of
You
the
have
most
a raging hate boner for Godo.
Oh yeah, I do.
I can't. The thing is that all the cases with every game except for 2 I think had 4 cases, but 1 and
Well-
3 had 5
Well,
cases.
one originally had
so-
4 cases. One had originally had 4 cases. Rise from the Ashes is like fan
Is it
fiction at this
two-parter?
point.
Oh. Well, the thing is that like because every game has so many cases which are basically individual stories, I can't really say one game is better or worse than the other. So
One and 3 have very distinct overarching stories. 2 doesn't have an overarching story, and I think that's one of the reasons why people don't necessarily like it as much because each case kind of stands on its own. Where one is very much the story of Miles Edgeworth.
Mhm.
Each case has an overarching story with Edgeworth's Edgeworth dealing with his loss, dealing with his backstory. Case one sets up the whole. This is
the setting. This is all the shit you're gonna go through.
But it also introduces the whole start of the DLC incident. Introducing
that was
because remember,
you mean the DL6 incident, not the DLC incident.
Yeah, the DL6.
Pay for the DLC incident of Ace Attorney.
1-2 introduced
1-2. Okay.
Okay, 1-2. It doesn't directly say DL6, but it talks.
Yes,
it introduces and talks. Okay, it does. Okay, but it talks. It specifically talks about Misty Faye's fucking back her the Faye's backstory, Misty's Faye's relation to this case and how the Faye clan's reputation was ruined. And this is very important information for Case 4. Case 3 brings up the whole Steel Samurai thing. It gives more character and personality to Edgeworth.
It's Steel Samurai.
That's fine. And
I have cards.
Nice.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh no, not Joker.
Fuck you,
bastard.
Fuck you, Try. And 1-4.
But Case 3, it really is more of a story of Edgeworth dealing with his first loss. And what's one of the most interesting things about Case 3 is at the end of the case, Edgeworth helping Phoenix, that
tidbit always seemed a little bit out of the blue for me.
See, but what's interesting and what's important about that is Edgeworth has been painted as this guy who will do anything for a win. But what Case 3 shows is that his his stance for justice. He has strong moral convictions, and it sort of proves that he wouldn't just forge evidence. Where we've had this narrative painting about him that he is this demon prosecutor, where it humanizes him a little bit, which is incredibly important before Case 4, because Case 4, he's the fucking defendant.
Yeah.
We have to. If we didn't have that moment before Case 3, at the end of Case 3, humanizing Edgeworth a bit, the Case 4 and defending Edgeworth would have felt very off. It's this guy's been
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
You know, when I can see you guys, it's way more apparent who isn't talking.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to. That's why I wanted to start video calling because I
was gonna say Case 3 was the first case that I actually ever played, and one thing about that always confused me. No, I didn't start with 1-1. I started with 1-3. Okay. And the thing that always confused me is that there's a part where Phoenix and Maya are in a trailer with this woman, and then she calls on a bunch of assassins to fucking murder Phoenix. Sorry for swearing there. And then Gumshoe shows up and he saves him. And I was like, how did he not get killed?
Because he's fucking Gumshoe.
He's fucking Gumshoe. He's secretly a badass. He's actually the best character in the series. He's probably not.
And I won't say that Ace Attorney, I won't say Ace Attorney 1, the individual cases are necessarily the most interesting cases or the most cohesive, but as an overall story, 1-4 is, I feel like, the tightest written story. It's the most well-considered story, where Ace Attorney 2 doesn't really have an overarching story. It has a phenomenal conclusion.
I don't think that Ace Attorney 1 was trying for anything grand, though.
But here's the thing, Ace Attorney 1 was supposed to be a one-off game.
It was. Exactly, which is why it wasn't going for anything grand.
Yeah, but to some degree, that low-key nature of it kind of works in its favor. And I can see if you've played a later Ace Attorney, how it compares to other Ace Attorney. If you're coming in with the same mindset of, let's say, I played 3 first. 3 was my first Ace Attorney game. It's this big, you have Phantom Thieves, you have mobs, you have
fucking ghost demon bitches from hell.
Yeah, exactly. Ace Attorney 2 onwards is fucking nuts, and it gets progressively more nuts.
Actually, while we're talking about stuff,
where 1 is a very much more low-key, lowbrow game. It's a very
I forget
casual.
How much Ace Attorney 1 fucking curses.
Yeah, oh my god, that's one of my favorite reasons.
I forgot. Fucking April May flashed the bellboy.
I don't remember that happening, but I didn't play 1-2.
But-
when April May is ordering her room service, the bellboy gets on the stand and testifies that he saw quote unquote them in all capital letters, and he has this gigantic pink filter all over his fucking face.
So it's implied.
It's implied, but
it's implied.
But April May totally showed her boobs to the bellboy.
Yeah.
Well, it's implied in the English release. It's probably outright said in the Japanese version. I've been told there's a lot of stuff in the Japanese version where it's like things are a lot more
risque.
Yeah.
Well, because Japan is more mature about that kind of stuff, but that's neither here nor there.
There's a part in the Pokemon manga where a character hides Pokeballs in her boobs, she sneaks attacks with them. And then
Japan doesn't have the same embarrassment with the human body that the West does, and that's a lot to do with Western Christian religious influence, where historically with Japan. Yeah, I
thought it was a marketing thing. I thought it was like Ace Attorney is for teens in Japan, but we're selling it to kids over here, so we need to cut all that.
Well, no,
or with Pokemon is for kids, so we have to cut all that.
Completely different sensibilities. I mean, for fuck's sake, Japan has public baths.
That's just
people see each other naked all the time in Japan.
I just assumed that it was a cultural differences, they do exist.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing Tar naked right now, and it's making me uncomfortable.
Not naked, shirtless. There's a difference.
Doesn't change the feelings that Dizzy's having about you.
Listen, Dizzy, I know I'm an extremely handsome man, but I'm taken. Anyways, back to Ace Attorney 1.
Okay.
Ace Attorney 1 is actually my least favorite of the original trilogy.
I thought you said 2 was your least favorite.
Well, okay. Ace Attorney 2, I think, was my least favorite overall, but I think the writing in Ace Attorney 1 is the worst. Just because just because of what the series has become. Like you said, Ace Attorney has become this grand over the top thing, and Ace Attorney 1's writing just feels so wooden. Every character seems like they don't have a soul.
Okay, I think here's the problem, and this is coming. I don't know who was all on the writing team for 2 and 3, and you can sort of see a bit of this with Ghost Trick as well. Shu Takumi has a very specific way he writes his characters, especially when it's something when it's a passion project, when he's working on it, he doesn't have a team. Shu Takumi writes his characters in a very more human, realistic, sort of down-to-earth way, and that's part of where the humor is in the first game, where you have some of these ridiculous designs, ridiculous whatevers, but everybody's just acting normal. No one's giving a fuck.
You know who hang on, before you continue. Do you know who my favorite character is in all of Ace Attorney 1?
Who?
The Gumshoe.
The fucking boat rental shack caretaker.
Okay, yeah.
Yanni Yogi is fantastic.
I know.
I should have guessed.
But
you really should have.
My second guess was the parrot.
Okay, Yanni Yogi in
that's
general.
Fantastic too.
Yanni Yogi in general is a phenomenal character and one of the best characters in Ace Attorney in general. And I will take that to my grave.
I'm not entirely sure what Tar is talking about personally.
So let me ask
that.
Is it...
I think that's my own personal bias that's also conflicting with what I think he's saying. So
what do you think I'm saying?
I think you're saying that Ace Attorney 1 is too subdued for as the rest of the series being too
one's
over
very
the top.
one's the most down to earth games. Well,
yeah.
Shu Takumi as a writer in Ace Attorney 1 is a very down to earth game, and I think depending on what you're getting out of Ace Attorney, what you enjoy from it, what you look like, what your values as a writer are or values as a reader are, will determine sort of what you enjoy in Ace Attorney. As I said, 3 used to be my favorite game. It's a very big, over the top. You have some of the biggest, most grandest situations outside of 2-4. 2-4 is still the highest stakes.
Fucking 2-4.
2-4 is like the biggest stakes the series has had.
It's like Ace Attorney 1. You have let me think. Like Ace Attorney 1, you have a big epic scene where something happens. Like Phoenix is almost killed by a bunch of Yakuza, I think. and then skip to Ace Attorney 3 or Trials and Tribulation. Phoenix Wright falls off a burning bridge into a freezing ocean and gets hypothermia.
A fucking guy kills himself on the stand in Ace Attorney 3.
It's
Yes,
true.
but that's pretty shocking, but that's possible. Falling off of a burning bridge, and then finding out later that same burning bridge was used as a pendulum system to throw somebody.
The reasons behind it are what's so absurd about it. It's like he's being manipulated by this girl that he's fallen in love with, who told him to eat this specific pendant if he were to betray her, and it just so happens to have poison in it too, and he's okay with dying.
Yes.
Well, I think he never in the first place.
I can believe crazy people exist. I can't believe that some guy with a messed up visor on his face, spoilers by the way, just happened to look at a burning bridge and think, I can use this to catapult somebody. And I think that just goes to show the writing of Ace Attorney having changed throughout the games of like Ace Attorney 1, with the exception of the
Speaking of a guy with a fucked up mask, let's talk about this.
Let's talk about Joker. I agree.
What the never saw it coming. Targo and grab the spray bottle right now.
Oh yeah, I can see you now. You can spray bottle me.
So, actually, I don't really want to talk about Godo. I want to talk about Dahlia because I remember you have some very strong opinions on Dahlia. And I want to hear them out because I didn't really see too much concerning her arc or anything like that. Really stood out as anything awful.
So I think where I've had issues, maybe trying to explain to you and others in the past, is it's not Dahlia herself. It's not Godo himself. There's a lot of things about Godo himself that I don't like particularly, but that's...
Is it his white hair?
I dig Godo's design. I'll give him that.
Godo's design doesn't look like it should work, but it absolutely does.
But part of what sells Godo so much is his design. It's like he's got one of the best designs in the series.
I'll say this about Godo's design. I was at a convention a few years back and I saw like 3 people cosplaying as him.
He's a very cosplayable character.
He is a very cosplayable character.
With varying degrees of success. One person had a face mask and stuff and it looked really, really good. Another person had a piece of paper. But the effort was there.
So, I guess... So, my problem with Dahlia isn't Dahlia herself. It's the whole Dahlia plotline and how it fits into the Ace Attorney chronology. Because... And this kind of ties back to how 2 and 3 were not planned from the get-go.
Okay.
A lot of the story in 3 feels
like
retcon. It's shoehorned retcon.
Oh, I hate
there is no reason why Phoenix had to have dated Dahlia. There is no reason why Phoenix should have been the first, Mia Fey's first client.
Second.
No, second client. First client after that. Also, can I say it also kind of 3 feels like there's a lot. It's where Ace Attorney, especially starting from 3, likes to have these big overarching, big narratives.
Of course.
One has an overarching narrative, but it's very just Edgeworth's story. It's
pretty basic.
Where in 3, it feels like there's a lot of contrivances to make everybody connect in ways that weren't connecting in the first 2 games. Like all of a sudden, Mia and Miles both had their first case together. All of a sudden, apparently Phoenix was also Mia's client, even though this was never brought up in the previous games. Which could have been brought up in 2. If 2 and 3 are both being planned around the same time, they could have dropped hints that Miles was Phoenix was Mia's client at some point.
I thought I remembered Gumshoe saying something about Mia in game 2. Or maybe not. I don't remember.
There's a lot of throwaway lines in Ace Attorney.
That's fair.
People are going to remember vastly different things from Ace Attorney, but it was never explored as a plotline or really even discussed.
I was going to say, Edgeworth. Does Edgeworth ever comment on Mia's death in 1?
No,
2?
he doesn't. He doesn't.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. And then also I can believe that Phoenix wouldn't mention anything to Maya about Dahlia because at this point Dahlia's she's dead already.
Well, it's not. Well, the point.
But it's still a little bit.
The point isn't Dahlia herself. Like, it's not that Phoenix I can believe Phoenix had a girlfriend in college. I can totally get behind that. If that's what the writers wanted, that's what the writers wanted. It's the fact that not only did he have a girlfriend in college, but she was this also mass manipulator, serial killer, who was also murdered. Who was also involved in a case, framed Phoenix. Mia defended him, but Mia and this girl also had this history with another defendant. And granted,
Godot.
And Godot. And granted, I understand Mia specifically took this case because Dahlia was involved, but the way that the information is given out, it feels that stuff feels contrived. Then the whole Godot thing, where also Diego Armando was her mentor that we've never heard before. There was never any inkling that.
Well, no.
I would. Okay.
He was no. Diego was not her mentor.
Okay, I know.
Grossberg was still her mentor. Diego was just someone. Diego was just a higher attorney at Grossberg's offices.
Yeah, but it was very much implied that Mia looked up to him and had a crush on him.
Yes.
Can I be perfectly honest with you?
Yeah.
I forgot Grossberg was a person until you just mentioned him right now.
Grossberg's not a person, he's Grossberg.
Not a character. I forgot he existed.
Grossberg is a walking hemorrhoid.
I just now
That's
remembered that Phoenix was supposed to go to Grossberg to get him to defend Maya in case 1-2, and then he said no, and then that's the last you ever see of him.
But
I forgot he
back
existed.
briefly in 1-4.
That's the last you ever see of him, Tar. He was murdered suspiciously by poison. It's a lot of mixed details. It just happened around the same time I was in Japan.
But I'm gonna go back.
You can't prove anything.
Tar references this
About
page
this.
boner I have for Trials and Tribulations, and
Yes.
okay, maybe I do, but it comes back more to this.
I just want to destroy Trials and Tribulations. What's wrong with
It's just
that?
this absolute frustration with how the plot was handled. I can look at something like Ace Attorney 2 and see all the flaws in it. Its lack of overarching story. Some of its cases I'm not a big fan of 2-2. 3-3 has its problems. 2-4, despite how epic it is, does kind of go on for a little too long.
I feel like it kind of has to, though.
It kind of has to.
It kind of has to hit all the beats it wants to.
Well, 2 is a very uneven game. I'll give it
yes,
that.
Absolutely.
It's an uneven game, and Franziska doesn't get enough development to justify her being in.
She doesn't get development at all.
She gets shot in the arm.
Franziska was supposed to. It feels like Franziska was supposed to get development.
Exactly. It really feels like she should, but she fucking doesn't, and that's why she is the worst prosecutor.
But it's
She's
also
even worse than Phoenix, right?
Well, it feels like at the end of 2, she's about to have development, and then they shoot that in the foot, for 3 for fan service.
No, they shoot it in the arm.
Yeah, because when she comes,
no, they
because
shoot
when
it
she
in
comes
the arm
back
too. In 3, they shoot it in the foot.
But I want to reference back to Phoenix Wright is for me is some of the most interesting when it's a story about Miles Edgeworth. Franziska works as a character in Miles Edgeworth's story.
Does she work in investigations?
She's exactly the same, just slightly more mature in investigations.
Slightly more mature. That sounds better to me.
The spin-off series. I thought you meant the one investigation segment you have with her in 3-5.
Did she fall off a cliff, or was that someone else?
I don't remember. She's alive. She doesn't die.
Well, the person who falls off a cliff doesn't die. I just remember someone falls off a cliff and then loses their memory.
Falls off.
Even though that's apparent.
Is this in game 3?
No, this was an investigation.
Okay.
But anyways, back to my what I was saying.
Back to your hate boner for Godot.
Yes, I'm sorry. I gotta stop derailing the boner.
Yep. So
we gotta get to the bone zone.
Despite 2's problems, there's nothing I really would change about it. I don't feel like there's any grand plot that
I would remove Ben Woodman.
Who?
Every
exactly.
Every game has a character that needs to be removed.
Wait, is he? No, that's Mo the Clown. I'm thinking of. I was
Mo
like,
the Clown is the best character in 2-3.
Yeah.
Fight me.
I'll fight you. I'll fight you. Where's my sword?
Ben Goodman and Trilio does not need to be in the game. Does not need to be an Ace Attorney. But I can say that about a lot of characters in a lot of the other games too. It's not a unique issue to 2. And even when you have
It's
such large
absolutely
casts of
not. And 3 actually is a worse offender of that kind of character. Do your one thing and then get the hell out.
Yeah.
Square up, Tar.
I think
square up.
3 has so many good ideas, but I feel like it mismanages every single one of them.
Really?
Where I feel like 2 doesn't really have that many big ideas other than, let's just, like, I feel like the only big idea it has is this funny enough, is this Trial and Tribulation for Phoenix. It's a game about him growing and him maturing as a defense attorney, where the first game is very much him learning the ropes.
Supposed to do that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. The second game is Phoenix growing as an attorney and confronting some of the. 2 is the darkest game in the series by far. It's handles some of the darkest subject. It's the darkest toned game. It reflects in the soundtrack, and it builds up to this climax where Phoenix has to confront his ideals of what it means to be a defense attorney, and it puts him in this big moral dilemma. And
did you forget that Ace Attorney 5 started with a courtroom bombing case?
No, but see, Ace Attorney 5 is almost comical. It's tonally inconsistent. Trials and Tribulations is tonally consistent with its darker tone.
Wait, also, the Dual Destinies canon?
Yeah, Justice for All. Yeah, Justice for All is tonally consistent throughout. Even when Mode the Clown's on, it's really uncomfortable. And it's not funny, goofy. It's more like he knows he's being annoying, but he's doing it for his job. Where Ace Attorney 5 is absolutely comical. It might be like have some of the darkest subjects in the series, or some of the biggest, more conspiratorial subjects. But 5 is such a joke at times that I can't really consider it a dark game. It is so. I was
gonna say, I played Dual Destinies very briefly. I played, I think, a few of the cases. And that was I was gonna say, like that was a thing I couldn't shake. Like it felt like there was it was a little too jokey. Like I remember there was a part where
because it was under a new director.
There's this captain who's on a Segway, and he's spinning around and doing poses, and then Trucy breaks his Segway with a knife just casually.
Fucking hell! 6 is a dark.
Wait, what? I don't remember that happening.
I think Phoenix is I need to talk to you, and he's go kill yourself, Phoenix. I hate you. Segway away, and then Trucy knifes the wheel so that he doesn't leave, and then
I still remember. I remember something like that too, but that was
this whole exchange is really, really weird.
Yeah, 5 really doubles down on the comedy, which is sort of weird because it also deals with some of the more fucked up. It's the most fucked up game in the series by far.
I was gonna say, I feel like it's reasons like this that.
Wait. Maybe one second.
Okay.
5 is the elfin lead of Ace Attorney.
I fucking hate you.
But I'm right.
You are right, and that's why I hate you.
New thumbnail. Dual Destinies. The elfin light of Ace Attorney.
Game theory. Take that, Pat.
Take that, Pat Matt.
Oi.
Pat Matt. I'm Pat Matt, and welcome to Theory Game.
Anyways, we were talking about the trilogy.
Okay.
I was gonna say the thing about Ace Attorney, and I think this might be where Tar and I might have a slight amount of discourse.
Oh.
I say a slight amount. Is you were saying that you one. Oh shit! It's intimidating when I can see your guns. It's actually. Oh no! But I was saying the thing about 1-1, and just I think for me on a personal level is that I always find things more interesting, or I personally find things more interesting when they're or more interesting and stranger when they're a lot more subdued, because then you're sort of associating this world as almost the real world. You're kind of connecting with it on that mind front, and then things get really, really messed up, and you can make a grandiose thing out of something that is normally really mundane. It's like for example, in a magical girl story, aliens come down and they make monsters, and things burst out of the ground, and this is all really normal. In a courtroom drama, even the mere mention of aliens raises the stakes because things are a lot more subdued. And with Dual Destinies, I feel like they go too far in the opposite direction, where it's like playing at like
Are you
magical
talking about the
girls
fucking
level of
yokai case that doesn't even feel like Ace Attorney?
I love the yokai case, and yes, it doesn't feel like Ace Attorney. But I like the yokai case because I generally like the yokai aesthetic, not because I think it's a good case.
I like the yokai case purely for Florent LaBelle.
Okay.
I guess
Okay.
I'm saying is that Ace Attorney progressively is spiraling
It
further
is-
and further
it is-
from reality.
It
And as a result,
absolutely is.
it's becoming
Ace Attorney
slightly
6
harder.
is all about ghosts.
But let me hop back to something where another reason where I enjoy 1 and 2 more than 3
Okay.
is something that when I play games or when I watch media or when I watch shows, I really enjoy that human element of connection. But like 1 and 2, there are very human. There are very human elements, especially in 2. Like
yes,
they have
2 had the best character writing in the entire game.
Yeah, 2. Yeah,
in the entire series, rather.
Yeah, I'll give that. 2 has the best character writing in the entire series. 1, the characters felt human, but the only real character that had non-main character that really had a big human grasp that felt like a real tragic person or a real person who struggles and falls was Yanni Yogi, and that's why he's the best character in the game. Yanni Yogi, and you kind of see that in all the a lot of the characters in 2. All the villains in 2 are fucking phenomenal characters.
Absolutely.
As much as I dislike 2, Minnie is a great character once you delve into her backstory and her motivations and whatnot.
And
I don't have to
It's just that interacting with her makes me want to claw my fucking eyes out.
But that's understandable. 2 is the game that you have a fucking annoying clown with more personality than more human, who feels more human than most of the characters in 3.
No, take that, Godot. You're less character than a clown.
I'll be honest. The only characters in 3 that feel like real humans are the fucking delights.
I really fucking hate that Mo the Clown is the best character in all of Ace Attorney 2. And yes, I am prepared to say that he is better than Adrian Andrews now. 3-2 bungles her character arc that badly.
That's more symptomatic of the character writing in 3. 3 has some of the worst character writing in the series.
Let me
because
it's
not
my playing card.
Because it's not character writing. 9 times out of 10, it's caricature reading. Desiree. Okay, the best, most human, most relatable character in Ace Attorney 3 is Desiree Delight, and I will fight that to my grave. Heck, even Maggie Bird is more of a character in 3 than she is in.
Well, you don't really get to see her a whole lot in 2.
Well, see, but that's the thing. She feels more of a real person in 2 than she does in 3, and we have more screen time with her in 3.
You cut out there, buddy.
She feels more like a real person in 2 than in 3, because a lot of in 3 all the characters are either characters or acting out of convenience for the story that they want to tell.
Yeah, I was gonna say something that kind of bothered me about Trials and Tribulations is that a lot of characters did feel kind of like punchlines.
Yeah, want to know what the biggest thing that pissed me off in 3?
Was it
Jean Armstrong?
No. John Armstrong's a joke. I don't pay him any mind. He's just another character in 3. It's the way that Maggie Bird treats Gumshoe, even though he was clearly not wanting to testify against her on the stand.
That's very fair.
It felt like
we just needed to have our end of case present.
Yeah, it felt like we need to pad out the investigation, and we need to give some character development for Gumshoe.
But to be fair, he's been around for 3 games. The big guy.
When are we gonna have our Dick Gumshoe spinoff?
But
where he beats up Godot for being a bad character.
No, hang on. Dick Gumshoe, Ace Mafia Puncher.
Yes. But it fucking flops when Maggie Bird is so mean-spirited and so close-minded about the whole thing, even though she was in the courtroom seeing him not want to testify against her.
She clearly should have changed uniforms mid-conversation and talked about a guy who shot knives out of a gun.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
I don't remember enough about this case to make that joke properly. But don't worry, because I'm going to replay that case.
You're talking about Turnabout, the fan case I made with Sponge Sonic, which all of you should play because it's a fucking masterpiece.
You don't have to play it because I'm going to record it for footage a second time.
Have you played Turnabout, Tar?
I have not.
You
It
are
will fucking
now. I'm gonna
it will-
make you play it with me.
Nah.
It will fucking
Yes.
break your mind.
Nah.
That's a game that will.
Which side are you on, Tar?
To me, I'm on your left.
You're gonna play it, Tar. I'm gonna make you play it.
It's quite something. It's quite the something. It's something. But back to the games. And
Yes,
that's
so Maggie Bryan, she gets mad at Dick Gumshoe, and she's like, "That Gumshoe's such a dick."
like
And
he betrayed me. He's a dick. Whatever.
He lied to me. He tricked me. He didn't keep the promise, and I don't care anymore.
I hate you.
Like,
I respect you, but I fucking hate
I also
you.
say this: as much as I dislike Rise from the Ashes as like a overall case of what it did to Miles' character.
Oh boy, we're talking about 1.5 now, huh?
1.5
has better 1.5 has better character writing than 3. Like the witness, like the entire cast for the most part in 1-5 is completely fine. I just don't like them. I don't like the mystery. I don't like the padding. I don't like the length. I don't like a lot of my issues also come down to just how they handled Edgeworth's character. They really shouldn't have had him be the prosecutor in that case, but that's beside the point.
Who should have been the
fucking
prosecutor in that case then? Because he was really pivotal to that case.
Well, he was. I think it was more of a conceptual writing issue. It's.
They needed a reason for him to go away in 2 beyond what they already did. Beyond what they already had.
But they really didn't. What made it interesting was I've said this before, but I feel like it was over. Like 1-5 was overkill. Like 1-5, it's like okay, he's going off. He's going to, like he's like the whole thing was that he needed to reevaluate himself because of all this shit he just went through. 1-5 makes me wonder why he literally didn't just kill himself.
At the same time, it doesn't feel like 1.4 would go far enough in that direction. Like,
agree to disagree.
Okay,
I mean,
that's fair.
I just feel like because it's not just that Edgeworth presented forged evidence back there. It's how much he shit on it really feels like Edgeworth torture porn.
Wait, when did Edgeworth present forged evidence?
In the SL, was it the SL9?
SL9 was the one in Rise for the Ashes.
Yeah, it's the Joe Dark case. He presented forged evidence without realizing it was forged. And then everybody shits on him for presenting forged evidence even though he didn't know it was forged.
Well, like that's the thing is like about I don't know a whole lot about the legal system, but doesn't that fall on the person who found the evidence?
Well, he didn't even find the evidence. The detectives
That's what I'm
gave
saying.
it to
Yeah.
him.
Shouldn't the shitting fall on the person who found it in the first place?
No, everybody should.
Wasn't that Lana Sky? Wasn't it Lana
No,
Sky?
it was Gant. It was fucking Gant.
Yeah, he forged the evidence.
Gant forged the evidence, pushed it down the ranks, and got it to Edgeworth.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
but that's what I'm saying. Is like if you have evidence and no evidence that it, and you specifically have no evidence it was forged, shouldn't you like? Wouldn't that fall on the person who gave you that evidence for the shitting on?
Like,
shouldn't that fall on the detectives to get shit on? Like, how did you mess this up?
It's almost as
Gumshoe?
bad as Phoenix losing his license for presenting evidence he didn't realize was forged.
Actually, that's another question. If they had this similar situation with Edgeworth, why didn't anyone look at this and say, "Hey, Phoenix, did you get framed?"
Yeah, like, but it's drama.
It's drama.
I guess
my
point.
Ace Attorney 4 needed a reason to have a new protagonist.
Yeah, but
yeah, why did they though? Because didn't they not do anything with Apollo after that? I keep hearing everyone keeps saying, "Give us Apollo Justice 2." So,
Apollo
to my understanding,
Ace
Apollo
Attorney
has not
6
gotten any respect.
Ace Attorney 6 is kind of Apollo Justice 2.
It really completes his arc.
It does. Other than the fact that they give Apollo 17 different backstories, but that's
beside the point. Which Apollo are we talking about again?
Yeah, is it Apollo 1, 2, 5, 13?
Talking about Apollo 11 who exploded in space.
Oh god,
we don't talk about that one. Yeah, we don't talk about that one.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, thanks for demonetizing us, Tar.
Fuck!
Well,
not even monetized.
Can I just cut that joke from the record?
Sure.
Wasn't.
But, so I guess back to the trilogy.
Or should we keep it in to be ballsy?
Maybe probably my issue with Rise from the Ashes 2 is it's coming off the hills of 1-4, which is such a good conclusion to the game and such a good conclusion to the story they were trying to tell. And then 1-5 just feels kind of like a mess to me, but it feels like an overpadded mess with bad investigations, bad cross-examinations, and a fucking annoying video
I never
that
actually
they keep presenting.
I never finished 1-5, if I recall correctly. I think I began it, but I never got past the second investigation because I had no idea what I was doing.
It doesn't help that none of the places you investigate are interesting. There's a weird logic to the order of events you're supposed to do things.
I think Sleuth told me that one time I got stuck because I checked a room before I was supposed to check it, so the evidence I needed to find wasn't there when I checked it, and because I already checked the room, I assumed that there was nothing there, so I didn't bother checking it a second time, and
Always
then
check
I
everything
got
a
stuck.
second time.
But
I had no indication though that I was supposed to check
this
it a
might
second
be
time.
this might be a bit of bias on my end, but through my replay of the trilogy of Ace Attorney, 1-5 was the only case where I had any issues during the investigation of trying to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do. It doesn't signpost very well what you're supposed to do, which is really weird because cases 1 through 4 do a phenomenal job at signposting what you're supposed to do.
Speaking of signposting and stuff, I want to ask you, Tar, because you said you just finished this trilogy and stuff. I believe it was in Justice for All. You're given the chain break locks.
Yeah, the
thing.
Mockazama.
The Cyclops. Oh, we talk about Cyclops now?
Oh boy!
Yeah, I was gonna say,
let's talk about Cyclops.
Was it more clear what you were supposed to do in Justice for All than Trials and Tribulations? Because I remember very distinctly that I got blocked so many times in Trials and Tribulation with those Cyclops, just banging my head against the wall, only to find out I couldn't win because I didn't have the evidence I needed yet. And
Trials and Tribulations does a much better job at only giving you Cyclops when you either have enough evidence or it's clear you don't have enough evidence. Trials and Tribulations throws Cyclops at anybody and you never know if you have the evidence at the time.
I was going to say.
All you can do is assume.
You said Trials and Tribulations twice.
Yes.
No, Justice.
I know what you meant. You meant Justice.
Justice for
All. You meant
Justice for All handles
the first one.
Yeah, Justice for All is uses the Cyclops a lot more sparingly.
I was gonna say because I don't remember being stuck on Cyclops in Justice for All, but I do remember constantly getting stuck on Cyclops and Trials and Tribulations because I straight up did not have the evidence I needed to beat them, and I just blow my entire gauge.
Well,
trying
the other
to
problem. I'll let Tar say, but I've got something to say too.
Tar.
In Trials and Tribulations, there was only one case where I thought I had enough evidence, and then I ended up not, and that was for Iris's Cyclops for Phoenix. I didn't present Dahlia Hawthorne to Edgeworth yet, so I thought I could crack her when she was still also well silhouetted out. But I thought it was pretty clear when
wasn't she not Iris though?
That was.
Oh yeah, that one was Dahlia, but we didn't know that.
That was. Yeah, but we thought she was Iris.
We thought she was Iris, but she was.
Which makes it really weird. Which makes it really weird why there were Cyclops in the first place.
That is odd now that I think about it.
And why there weren't Cyclops the entire time you're talking.
I told you before. It's 3. Well, it's because Dahlia doesn't. Dahlia doesn't feel guilt.
Yeah.
Isn't it like?
But that means that she forced herself to feel guilt at that time just so Phoenix could see the Cyclops.
Didn't someone have black Cyclops you can't break, and then in the next game you could break them after?
Yeah, that was Kristoff.
Yeah, that was
and Athena.
But
that's also why
Athena had black Cyclops.
Yeah, but see, Phoenix.
But then you broke those.
You broke those, but you couldn't break Kristoff's.
Yeah,
I hate that. I absolutely hate that in anything. Usually in anime, almost always in shonen, where it's they do something to raise the stakes, and then they introduce a way to overcome it anyways. Yeah. It's no.
Well, that's the whole reason why he
unbreakable.
That's the whole reason why that's the whole reason why he recruits Athena was because he was hoping to use the psychology to break Black Cyclops.
Oh, okay.
But it was never a real big plot point. It's just oh, now I have a great psychologist who can help me break Cyclops when they appear, But it was more of a plot point.
But anyways, the point is, I didn't notice an especially difficult spike I didn't notice an especially large spike in difficulty in Cyclox segments from Game 2 to Game 3.
It's not
Well,
that the
yeah,
it's not that the
I
Cyclox okay, I think, and this might be a bit of replay bias because this isn't the first time we played Trials and Tribulations, right, Tar?
I've seen it played through before, but this was my first time actually playing through the game.
Okay, so you're fully aware of the story and the twist, and you knew that
I had an idea of the basic story beats, but I couldn't remember everything.
Okay, so and Dizzy, when you were playing it the first time, like when you were playing it that time you were getting stuck, was that your first time playing it?
Yeah.
Okay,
I admit Pearl Cyclock in 3.5 was a little bit bullshit.
Okay, so
I kept getting stuck because I didn't have the evidence I needed, and that kept driving me crazy.
This happened multiple times?
Okay,
yeah,
so
I think it happened with Pearl,
okay,
with
let me
Iris,
stop.
with one other person too.
Okay, let me stop right
Sorry,
there because
Okay,
because this is an interesting conversation for me because I first played Ace Attorney. I think I was 11 or 12. It was Ace Attorney 3 was my first game, and I got decimated in those investigations. When you're playing through Ace Attorney for the first time, when you don't know about the story, you don't know who the killers are, and you have no basis of information. The investigations in 3 are so poorly signposted, and that it becomes really rough to know what you're supposed to be doing at any time. And if you know who the killer is, a general idea of the story and the plot, like it's not hard to imagine, like, okay, maybe I don't have all the information for this right now, but I know the general places I should be looking. If you don't know any information, if you've gone in blind, 3 can be a nightmare. Just because you don't know what to expect, you don't know where you're supposed to be looking, and it is a bit frustrating. Like when I replayed Ace Attorney, I knew especially with 3, don't assume that I have all the evidence. If the answer isn't popping out obviously for me, then don't do it. But at the same time, some of the questions are very poorly worded in 3 as well.
Yeah, like you
and
keep
there's a lot of
the evidence.
And there's a lot of similar evidence. Maybe I won't waste my whole bar on a Cyclock, but there were definitely times where I presented something that I thought was the answer, and it wasn't the exact piece of evidence it wanted. Where in 1 and 2,
but it was
they
a
didn't
general
have,
ballpark answer that probably should have worked.
Where in 1 and 2, those sorts of instances didn't happen much, even in the courtrooms. Where 3, that happens very often, where you're not sure exactly which part of piece of evidence you're supposed to be presenting because there's so many ones that have similar information or can imply similar things.
I remember there was like one part in the courtroom where like you have to talk about like the lady's staff or something.
Yes.
And then like
okay.
and I remember it was like I don't recall completely, but I think like you had to present like the crystal ball, but like you couldn't present the staff itself or like the picture of the staff.
I thought you had to present the picture of the staff.
I think I might be getting this backwards actually, but I remember like I kept presenting one thing because I thought it was right, and then I presented the other, and that was right, and I was like, you could get that from either of them though.
Yeah, 3 is a very bad offender of this specifically.
Didn't Ace Attorney 1 have something that was basically Cyclox? You just didn't see Cyclox. Like someone says, "I'm not going to tell you Jack," and then you get into like a logic battle with them. There's just no locks.
That was a very no. I don't
think so. There's only one segment that I can remember, and that is the Battle of Wits with Dee Vasquez in 1-3 before she admits the possibility that she was the killer.
Yeah, but that was sort of part of the investigation. That wasn't really I'm gonna hammer you right now. And can I take this a weird hot take turn?
Oh boy.
I really don't like Cyclox and what they've done to the investigations. Because in 1, like there is a very okay. So as Tar can remember, in 1, like generally the cases were split up into 3 days. You had you had investigation phase and you had trial phases. And actually, in general, like these investigation and trial phases were shorter phases.
Yes, they were very short in Ace Attorney 1.
Yeah, they were, and it's actually a bit more realistic to like real life. Trials don't tend to be these long, massive. You investigate like have 3 witnesses come on the stand, have these long, hour-long conversations with them. Trials don't. That's not how court works in real life. No. 1's a very much better representation of the courtroom. Now,
whenever I think about lawyers, I just think about how often while I was in school, people would keep bringing up the "I'll sue you" threat. Just and then
talk to my lawyer.
Yeah, it's
No,
like,
if they say
and
I'll
then
sue you,
I'll
if
punch
you
you,
if they
and
say
then
I'll
I'll
sue
sue
you.
you, and it's like, yeah.
Okay. But what was really important, like with the way that the pacing was done, was that you only ever did investigation during the investigations, and the trial was designated to all of the like problem solving and to pulling out information from witnesses and pointing out lies.
Okay.
When they
with you so
investigated,
far.
when they introduced Cyclox, they moved a lot of the problem solving from the trial into the investigation, and it was already a bit frustrating for me in 2 because they did quite a bit of that, but in 3 it felt even more obnoxious because they felt like they had to give everybody a Cyclox and everybody had to have a lie that you had to get information out of, and by the time you got to the court,
every segment.
Wasn't there one character who had Cyclox that you literally couldn't break until you brought like Mia Fey, and then they all just shattered immediately because you wanted to spill
that was
guts for
that was
her?
the old man. No,
Yeah,
that was the old bag with the with the victim's autograph.
Okay. In 2 and 3,
right.
basically. Okay.
I
Here's
remember that
the
now.
thing about the Cyclox Star. In 2 and 3, every character got their Cyclox. There wasn't a single character that wasn't important to the case that didn't have Cyclox. Like, I think maybe outside of like prosecutor characters, or like very rarely did a character not have a Cyclox. That's basically one of it. Like Rondalite had Cyclox. I think Desiree had Cyclox.
No,
Larry had Cyclox.
Desiree did not have a single Cyclox.
Okay, Desiree.
Yeah, I think Larry did. I think he had 2.
Yeah, Larry had 2
I'm
Cyclox.
trying to think.
Well,
who did
Desiree
have Cyclox in 3 too? I know Luke Atney had one.
Yeah, Luke. Adrian.
Yes, Adrian had one.
Ron.
Did Ron have one? I don't think he did.
Ron had one in the detention center.
I don't remember this. What were you trying to uncover?
Oh crap! I can't remember.
I think it was if he was mask to mask or something. I think he was saying like, I get detailed instructions on how to.
Yeah, it was about his blackmail. It was about him being blackmailed.
Right, you were uncovering his blackmail. Okay, I remember now.
But I think Desiree may have been the only character without Cyclox, but that's because she literally was out of the loop of everything.
Ron DeLite was a better Phantom Thief than Joker.
That's true.
Correction, Luke Atney was a better Phantom Thief than Joker. Ron DeLite was a horrible Phantom Thief.
But
I know what I said, Tar, and I knew how the resolution of that case before I said it.
Oh, okay.
But
I understand now.
But anyways, bringing back to a bit of my complaints is by a lot. This designated the trial to going over information you've already figured out in the investigation, and to some degree, it made me feel like a lot of the trials were a bit patty. It took you a bit too long to get to new revelations.
You know,
and in general,
I thought the Trials and Tribulations thing was supposed to be like press and order puzzles, but there wasn't actually a whole lot of that.
No, there actually really wasn't. There was
the only one.
The only pressing puzzles were in
Luke Atney.
2, like where Luke Atney, and then there is one with Maya Fey and
you cross-examined Maya Fey
in 3-5.
Very last cross-examination
very last cross-examination is a weird pressing puzzle, but it wasn't it was a bit.
That one wasn't too bad. Like, it was pretty obviously signposted that you need to press this statement later.
Yeah, no, that one wasn't badly.
Yeah, that one confused me because I think you have to press it. You have to present an evidence and then you have to press it. I think, but I kept getting it mixed up.
I don't think you don't present anything for the last cross-examination in 3-5.
Didn't you have to present the scroll?
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, but you're getting to that. But all that pressing got to the presentation of the scroll.
I was gonna say, like, on the topic of this, like, do we ever address hate thing on Trials and Tribulations? Because I feel like we keep getting off topic. As someone who hates not getting
no, but like this kind of comes back to this, where I don't know if the Cyclops were like how they came to be, But it's this general idea of we're doing. This might be a bit of like a weird weird obsession sort of thing. It might not necessarily be best for the story, but I've always found that the investigations were meant to find the information. This is the investigation you're investigating. You're trying to find things to bring to court, find evidence. You don't really know what everything means, but it'll make sense when you're interrogating in investigations. Well, interrogating in the trials.
With you so far?
When you bring in the Cyclops, you're bringing the interrogations and essentially the cross-examinations and the lies into the investigations. Yep, and to some degree, I can see in some cases where there was so much information to go over that they needed to have some of this problem solving in the investigation rather than the trial. But I also feel that breaking the investigation of the Cyclops and breaking instead of having 2 days of trials and instead of 3 days, it makes a lot of the investigations and a lot of the trials feel unnecessarily padded, where you're not really going over new information, and a lot of the twists aren't as exciting because where in one it's a very weirdly quick pace. You're always doing something. You're always investigating. You're always in the trial. It's bouncing back and forth.
Being used to the later installments of the trilogy, Ace Attorney 1 felt oddly fast paced.
Yeah, because it's not because it's fast paced. It's because the pace is more broken up. You're not spending hours in the courtroom. You're spending maybe half an hour in the courtroom, going out investigating, another half hour, go out investigate another half hour. Where some of the trials can go on for 2 hours, and a single day of trials can go on for an hour to 2 hours in the later games. And you're doing 4 or 5 cross examinations in 1 day of trial, and this is in a mid case, not end case. When you get to the end cases, that's just, ugh.
Then you get to the end, and you're just really, really baffled about everything.
Which was sort of fine in 6 because in 2-4 because the idea is that you're stalling for time. You want time to go on as long as you can until Maya can be saved.
Right.
And 3-5, it felt like we want to get this over with as quick as possible, but yet it keeps dragging on and on and on and on.
Well, because everyone is so uncooperative. Because Maya wants to protect this guy, and we think we're cross-examining Iris, but we're not. Her testimony is too weird for this to actually be Iris.
3-5 is such a weird, jumbled mess.
I don't actually remember.
3-5 was very rushed. It was trying to do too much.
Yeah, it was... And I kind of wish that... And this might be weird, as someone who's not a fan of the story of 3-5, I kind of wish it spent more time in 2 and 3 to flesh out and develop its story, but what we kind of get is we get one introduction to this idea. Case 2 and 3, which are not really related, we just introduced Godo. Godo doesn't even get any real development. He's just there being imposing.
Well, because he was supposed to be this Enigma figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I don't think he's even a really good Enigma.
And then 3-4 comes along and it's just whoop, there he is.
Yeah, but that's the thing. With 3-4, he's supposed to be this Enigma figure, but then they just give it away in 3-4. There's no real reveal. It's oh, this is obvious. And then 3-5 comes around, it's oh my god, he was Diego Armando all this time. Really?
Yes, Try, really. We can't have a Bros in Landfill episode unless I call one of you the wrong name.
Tar, was it you that said that, back in 5, that Trials and Tribulations had foreshadowing?
Was it? I can't remember.
Foreshadowing
about what?
Well, because 3 in general, foreshadows a lot for the ending. There's a lot of...
I'm not going to contend that point.
Yeah, so because this is something I was thinking about, because I think it was you, because it doesn't sound like something Dizzy would have said.
No, because I don't remember these games as well as I'd like to.
You said that 3 had one of the things that made 3 good was its foreshadowing. I'd argue that it's not really foreshadowing, rather
just giving away the mystery.
It's just giving away the mystery. 1 has phenomenal foreshadowing.
It does.
1 is such... Well, maybe the writing isn't Like, doesn't appeal to maybe someone who's a fan of like the later
kookier
games
characters. Like I love.
like
You know
like,
me. I love. I'm all about the jank tank.
You know what? I don't begrudge anybody about that. Like 3 was my favorite game for a long time for reasons like that. Because 3 has some of the most unique characters. It has like the most. It kind of has like the most Danganronpa-ish characters. They're just big personalities. They're fun to watch.
Look at me.
Okay. 3 is like the most. I would say this. 3 is probably the most fun story to go through. Like especially the first time.
Okay,
but
that makes sense.
3's as an overall game, 3 is probably the most exciting. It doesn't hit the same highs that 2-4 does, but in general, 2 isn't that exciting of a game. It's a bit more thoughtful, methodical. Has something deeper. It feels like it has something deeper to say. Where 3 just wants to be a blockbuster movie. 3 wants to be your Avengers Endgame of Ace Attorney. And I think as a blockbuster sort of game, it works like that.
And then 5 and 6 at the very least try to recapture that and bungle it because it's not Shu Takumi.
6 handles it better than 5, but that's
6 is better than 5. But...
Yeah. There's a lot I love about 6. It's not a perfect game, but there's a lot I love about 6. Not the stupid mechanic they brought in, though. Fuck that.
Really? You don't like the seances?
I don't like the seances because it's just a glorified present what's wrong in the video.
That's fair.
And as someone who didn't like that in 1-5, you can imagine. Especially like that. There was the seance in case 3 was absolute garbage.
The one
where you're watching the what?
The one with Lady Kira?
Yeah, the one where like you had to like point out like one of the lights not being on or being out or something.
And, yeah, fuck that.
I presented it, but just not at the right time code, so I didn't investigate it again. And that's happened a lot of times with seances, is that like you'll see what's wrong, you'll click on it, but you're not the right time code it wants you to be at, so that it doesn't really count it. And
it's
you're
like
well,
with the Cyclox again. It's like you know what you're supposed to do, but you just didn't do it at the right moment. You're like, so then you think you did it wrong, and then it's like, no, you did it right. You just didn't do it right at the right moment.
You didn't do it right as they wanted you to do it.
Yeah. Gosh darn it, Phoenix, you were supposed to notice that in 3 more seconds, not right now. Come on, man.
But
Phoenix
I think
is like,
to tie things back to 3, I can't.
We keep bringing up Godo and then not capitalizing on it. Talk about Godo.
So I talked about Godo a bit. Part of my issue with I talked about this, I guess, in episode 5 too. So if people want to torture themselves and listen to that episode again,
you're not torturing yourselves; you're torturing us. So
no, they're not. It's a human's rights violation. Listening to the video.
Yes, can you briefly
I hereby sentence
argument against Godo for me?
Okay,
I hereby sentence you to death. Your punishment is to watch episode 5 of Bros in a Landfill.
I think Godo's an effective character the first time you're playing through, but like without you necessarily thinking about everything. Like he works as an enigma character in cases 1 and 2, but he's not a good prosecutor. He's not threatening. All he has is his charm. I don't have any reason to believe why anybody in the courtroom's listening to him. How the fuck did he get a prosecutor's badge? How the fuck is he on the stand?
How did he get a prosecutor's badge, actually? Because
why is anybody listening to...
He has connections.
Everybody,
connections with who?
How
does he have a prosecutor's badge?
He's so caught up in his... He's a worse investigator than fucking Franziska von Karma. He's so caught up in his grudge that he overlooks things that Franziska would have not missed. And Franziska doesn't even investigate because she's got such a big ego.
I mean, let me go ahead and play the weakest devil's advocate you'll ever hear in your life, which is that, number 1, Godot overlooks things because his eyes literally don't work. And number 2, the whole point is that he's caught up in his grudge, and that he's stupid. And that he's dumb.
His grudge is...
and that
But his
stupid.
grudge is... Yeah. Yeah, his grudge is also really stupid because it would have taken a 5-minute Google search to see that there's nothing that Phoenix could do. I get some of his grudges. It's a bit of self-loathing. He's projecting that on Phoenix, but it feels very random for him to be projecting that on Phoenix.
I think it's
Can I
just,
stop
I
you
think
from-
it's just because that Phoenix is hanging out. Like, he notices Phoenix hanging out with Maya a bunch. Like, he does
But
feel
to
that deep regret that he couldn't save Mia. That there was
But
nothing
the
that
other-
could be done.
but
So he wants to
the-
protect Maya at
but-
all costs
Can-
in an attempt
Okay,
to
but
make
let
up
me
for that.
Try, please. Let
I'm
me,
not trying.
cut you off. No,
Okay.
I'm talking to. I'm
Okay.
talking about Try. I'm not calling you Try. I'm just saying, Try. Let me just cut this for a second, and let me just make you groan for a minute and be like, okay, so Godot does a Google search about was there anything Phoenix could have done, and he gets first thing on the list is top 5 reasons top 5 ways Phoenix Wright could have saved Mia Fey, and then he goes on Twitter, and people are like, that Phoenix is such a jerk, he should have saved Mia.
Ouch. But but part of the thing that I wanted to on that is Phoenix got the guy who killed Maya put away, and he was not no other he did what no other attorney would have done and took down Red White. That's something worth admiration and recognition. If any to some degree, I think Godot would have been like, damn son, this guy took this guy I can still not be happy that Phoenix wasn't there to protect her, but damn, he took down Red White of all people. the guy that Mia's been trying to take down for years.
He took down Red White, Manfred von Karma, Luke Atmine.
Yeah,
one of those is significantly less impressive than the other. Tar. That time it was a mistake.
Fair enough.
The answer,
Hey,
the answer might surprise you.
Luke Atmine's balls.
I do not have to respect those, and I'd very much like to not see them.
But let's ignore all of that. Let's say Godot got out of the hospital, heard that Mia was dead, saw Phoenix hanging out with Maya, and learned that he was his thing. Did no Google research, even though he's a well-acclaimed attorney.
I love the Google research. What if he did Yelp research?
But let's ignore the fact that Godot was this well-acclaimed defense attorney who was really cool. Had his school, would have done the research, and apparently knew how to do investigations very well.
And apparently he has good enough connections so he can get a prosecution's bag, so no questions asked.
Yeah, so let's ignore all that. Let me get down to the main point. One of the reasons why I love 1, and I love Miles' development as a prosecutor, is that we get to see those human elements of him early on in the game. It's not Miles is this demon prosecutor, then 4 comes around, he's the defendant, and we learn that he's actually not that bad of a person. That's why I love the conclusion to 3 so much, is that it humanizes Edgeworth. And with Godot, we don't really get that. The first time we see any human element of that character is with Diego Armando, but this is kind of related to something that Dizzy and I were talking to earlier, so I don't know if Dizzy's gonna how Dizzy's gonna react to this. But it feels like suddenly Diego's a different character, just for the sake of him being the villain.
I know what you're getting at, but yeah. It's not built on at all, and it feels like such a flip, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
right?
I think to some degree it would have been more effective if we didn't see Diego Armando beforehand. If we didn't see him be so cool, kind, considerate.
Kind of like Darth Vader, right? It works better when you don't see the prequel movies and see Anakin Skywalker as this crazy, obsessive nut job.
Okay, all right.
You can always speculate.
I take your point, Try. Counterpoint. What are the very first words out of Godot's mouth in 3-2?
I honestly don't remember because I was
drink
drowning
17
the whole time.
cups of coffee.
I've
returned from the depths of hell to do battle with you.
I've come back from the depths of hell to do battle with you. He goes on about how he's died. He cheated death. He doesn't see himself as this human figure anymore. He sees himself as this hell figure.
That doesn't make sense at first. That does not make sense for his character one bit. That makes me hate it even more.
Let me stop you right there too, Tar.
Oh?
Is that the thing is that how Godot sees himself and how Godot is written are kind of in contrast there, because I think what Try's saying is that Godot doesn't have a lot of humanity, but that's not in the sense of, because he doesn't see himself as human. It's in the sense of, I don't care about him and he's boring as cardboard. Like,
Yeah.
you should see, like,
All
if
he has
Godot
is
doesn't see himself as a person anymore, if he sees himself as this hell beast, that should be more reflective in his actions and his character. But instead, he just drinks coffee all day long and then gets
And laugh,
wasted
like-
because someone put some gin in it, and then he's like,
No, he gets wasted because someone put
He
poison
he
in
gets
it.
poisoned.
yeah, so
Yeah.
you.
But
Where's my sword? I'm gonna
Oh, no.
get you for that try. I've got a sword right here.
oh no. Hey, that Bywater is fucking delicious. I love the cocoa fruit, like the coffee fruit one.
Oh yeah, the coconut.
Oh no, I don't. I'm not a big fan of like.
Is this advertisement cast now?
No.
Yeah, but there's
My swords, water, and
There's
Google.
like I like the acai blueberry flavored one quite a bit.
I'm not a huge fan of blueberry, but anyways,
That's
we're
fine.
talking about
Back
like,
to-
the Hell Beast.
But yeah,
Godot should
so-
Godot should act or feel like he's hiding some sort of anguish rather than you just being told that he hates Phoenix
He hates Phoenix because
by
yeah,
him.
That's
Like,
that's
instead of
fair.
him, like,
like
and
maybe-
to tie it back is that while he does have this bizarre flip, to some degree he's also this. He acts the same way, even though because of his motivations, he shouldn't be as cool and calm and collected as he is.
it's just a little bit
There's-
colder about it.
Yeah, he's just a bit colder. He's like a cold cup of coffee. No one likes it. It tastes bitter, but there are people who do enjoy a cold cup of coffee like me.
I like iced coffee, but
Iced
like
coffee, yeah.
cold coffee is
I-
not quite the same.
Cold coffee's all right.
That explains
I-
a lot. Yeah.
I think
Hey!
it depends.
I'm joking.
All right, Tar, do you enjoy a hot cup of coffee that you let sit for so long it's cold, or do you enjoy iced coffee? Because they're not the same thing. It must
I
be said,
actually
they're
prefer.
not the same thing.
I actually prefer the cup of coffee I've left sitting out.
Ooh, interesting.
Ooh, that's a hot take. I mean a cold take.
I don't like
Do you-
ice
do you
in
like
my
your
drinks.
do you
That's
like
fair.
your coffee lukewarm?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, so
I met. Long story short, there's a movie that me and Sleuth like sort of poke fun at a lot. And there's this part where they're like, "No one likes their coffee lukewarm." Now we're like, "I'm sure someone does."
We found him.
Coffee's
Hell,
all right.
yeah, I don't mind lukewarm coffee either.
I don't drink a
I just
whole
don't
lot of
drink-
coffee, but
Yeah, I don't drink a whole. I'm more a tea person right now because of my wife's influence, but because coffee's, I drank way too much coffee beforehand.
did you drink 17 cups every trial?
Okay, that's another reason why I have a fucking grudge with Godot, because he got me into coffee, specifically the blackest coffees. Like, I'm not even joking. I forced myself to get into dark coffee because of Godot, and I got a fucking grudge against him. So my bias is out there, audience. Way to go.
Out of curiosity, like before I mentioned right now, hey, I drink coffee. Did you guys know I drink coffee? I'm not.
Yes.
I never,
It makes a bit of sense.
Yeah.
I was gonna say because I think let me see here. Ever since I was about, I think I started. I could be wrong, but I think I started drinking coffee when I was 17, and I've enjoyed it since.
Well, I've been
And
drinking
for
coffee
some
since middle
reason,
school.
I keep having this talk with my parents where we're like out, and I'm like, oh cool, they have a cafe, I can get some coffee, and then they look at me and they're like, you like coffee? And I'm like, this is the 16th time we've had this conversation. I drink coffee. When
Anyways,
did you
I wanna-
not know this?
Anyways, I want to kind of just wrap things up a bit. It's getting
Right,
on with.
Oh
is-
yeah, it's
It
getting
is
late.
getting a bit late.
So I kind of want to tie back to just the prosecutors in general.
Yes.
So Edgeworth, I think Edgeworth's a great prosecutor, but that comes down to the writing in his game and his character arc. Franziska,
Fuck Francisca.
people have every right to dislike her. I think she works as a foil to Edgeworth and as a continuation of the Manfred von Karma. I find her a very interesting and fascinating character, even if she's not the most likable. For Godot, he just doesn't have any redeemable qualities. I feel like it feels like all he has is his character is that he's cool and he's suave and he has this weird quirk of drinking 17 coffees. But it never feels like his arguments again in court are ever really good or really threatening. He never feels like a threatening prosecutor. He doesn't have that going for him. He
is a lot more in the background than the others. He does let the witnesses do
and
a lot of his work for him.
And I think that kind of comes back to like, I don't understand why he was written this way. He's supposed to be this, like, well-respected defense attorney with lots of experience, with lots of connections. He should be the most frightening prosecutor in the series. He should have okay, reimagine Godo. Let's say he still has this cool, suave coffee thing, but imagine him with a sharp tongue, like a biting tone, not afraid to scold Phoenix.
He's
not afraid.
He's kind of not afraid to scold Phoenix.
Yeah, no.
Here's the thing: he's not afraid to scold Phoenix, but he almost is never in a situation where it's appropriate.
Yeah, like when he scolds Phoenix, it's always when Phoenix is right and he's losing.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
yeah.
Fair.
Like a lot of the time it feels like, I know you complain about Franziska kind of saying like a lot of like what ifs, or kind of being a bit annoying.
Yeah, you said she keeps saying maybe, I think, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't do that
Probably.
nearly as much as I remembered her.
Yeah, but
she does still do it more than any other prosecutor.
But I find that Godo is constantly posturing because he never has a case to make. He doesn't care about the verdict. He only cares about sticking it to right.
That does. Well,
he's very petulant.
He's very petulant, and it seems like he has no like he never really feels like he cares how the trial's going as long as he's able to stick it to right.
Mm.
He doesn't care about the verdict.
I figured out the solution before you did, right? Nah.
Yeah, like he would throw his case under the bus if he knew if it was the spite, right.
All right, that's fair.
But
I think another thing worth mentioning too is that, like, excuse me for a minute, I need to go punch myself in the gut because my brain just was just like, hey, remember that thing you were gonna say? Gone.
But it just kind of comes back to like, he's supposed to be first off, yeah, him being angry doesn't really make sense, but we can we can let that slide.
Well, I remember now.
Okay. I guess
I think the thing is that I was gonna say, it's like, while we're on this conversation about this partially has to do with Godot, but it's kind of like, it's an argument that kind of bothers me sometimes, and I wanted to address it, even if no one is gonna bring it up, and I'm technically like starting to fight with a horse that isn't hypothetical. That isn't dead. It's I'm picking a fight with Schrodinger's cat is what I'm doing. And it's like,
that's fine.
Some people try to argue. I hear this a lot where people will like argue against your point by saying it was intentional. Like saying like Godot is kind of a boring character. There's not very much to him. He's a suave piece of cardboard. And people are like, oh, but that's what they were going for. And it's like, yeah, but we're explaining now that it was not, even if that's what you're going for, that was not well executed, is our problem.
Well, okay, so I think the big thing, Godo's character as a whole just doesn't make sense, and it feels like they were trying to write one thing and change their mind later, but never went back and changed the script. That's what it feels like. Godo's supposed to be this cool, suave person. I quite like Diego Armando as a character. I don't believe him becoming Godo. Like, I don't believe him having this weird flippant character, being this spiteful. Like, I can believe him being spiteful, but I don't believe him being spiteful in that way. He doesn't really feel like he's an angry, bitter person. Is
it because he's a Stepford Smiler because of his philosophy?
But it kind of comes back to this. They didn't need to take out any of those scenes with him. They just needed to make him more human. Edgeworth's portrayed as, especially in the first case, as this prosecutor who'll do anything for when you have to win. You have this whole thing where you have the updated autopsy report, and it's really suspicious. It's like, is this forged? It's asking these questions. But
was it goes forged?
Out. It wasn't forged, but it's implied that it's a shady, underhanded tactic.
Oh,
it's implied that he'll do anything to win. He laid this trap to ruin Wright's case. That's what's implied.
Then Franziska does the same thing for 30 times more.
Yeah, and Franziska's even worse. She will do anything to win.
Franziska is a better case of like what you said. She doesn't care about the verdict. She wants to stick it to right. Well, she does care about the verdict too, but she wants to stick it to right by getting the verdict.
Yeah, and she's obsessed with this verdict. She's Like, she doesn't care to do the investigation or to get all the evidence. She just wants to have the perfect case. And that's kind of what she was... And it makes sense she was trained to do that from her father. She learned, from example, from her father, because that's what her father did.
Yes.
Was her first Lost Phoenix?
At the same time, perhaps they wanted to make Godo a bit less aggressive, because this is the first time we're fighting someone, other than Pain, that hasn't had that Von Karma influence.
But that's completely fine. I completely understand. But he shows no humanity until we see Diego Armando, and it feels like an excuse to humanize him more.
Yeah. It's like you shouldn't have an excuse to humanize your character.
I get that he's supposed to be like this enigmatic demon that's come back from hell, and he's not supposed to be human. But that's not how people work. People who try not to be human still show human traits.
Yeah.
Like, Edgeworth was supposed to be a demon that had no human, redeeming human traits.
We didn't see that in 1-2, though.
I think the thing is that, like, too, is like you were saying, Godot was the first prosecutor to not, like, really get aggressive with Phoenix, but it's like you can still be imposing without being aggressive, but Godot has no weight to him.
I mean, I think of someone like Nayuta. Nayuta wasn't an aggressive prosecutor. He was a very, like, kind of like the more suave, altogether. Same thing with Clavier. Clavier was a very, like...
I don't know anyone after Trials and Tribulations. I do know Clavier. He's the guy who goes like the rock star thing.
He's the guy with the purple jacket.
Clavier does the whole, like...
I thought he had a red jacket. Clavier
does the whole cool, suave prosecutor shtick better than Godo because Clavier feels like a real flawed human being. Godo doesn't feel like a human for 90% of the game.
I do not remember the events of Game 4 in the slightest.
I looked them up on YouTube and I forgot most of them.
I do need to replay it, but I believe Clavier is a multifaceted character throughout the game.
I'm just gonna have to take your word for it.
Where my issues with
Has Godot ever returned after Trials and Tribulations?
No, because he was put under the death penalty.
He's dead?
Yeah.
Godot is dead for real this time.
Yeah. But.
That's too bad. I kind of wish he showed up in Ace Attorney Investigations, and Edgeworth was like, "How are you back?" And he's like, I cheated death once already.
I've come back from the depths of hell to do battle with you, Mr. Edgeworth.
Let me pose this. Let me pose this to you.
Okay.
And then we can finish off the stream because I've really got to get going.
Oh.
Okay. 3-2.
3-2.
Godo's revealed. Godo's revealed. You beat him. He loses. He's frustrated that he loses. 3-3. You beat him. He loses. He's frustrated that he loses. 3-4. We see him before he was like that as Diego Armando, and he's this completely different person. Like, he still has like this calm, cool trait, but he's a completely understanding, supportive. Like, he doesn't seem like he has a bad bone in his body. Like, then 3-5 comes around. Godo saves Maya's life and tries and has all these redeeming qualities. But for the first 2 full cases, we see nothing of that. The first time we see a good redeeming quality from Godo is from his backstory. Where with Miles, it's diegetic. We see, like, the first case, we see how much losing bothers Edgeworth at the end of the second case. In the third case, you see him grow because he accepts defeat because he knows it's right. And then in 1-4, he's the defendant, but like he has I don't need to go over all of his development, and 1-4 is another thing, but it's basically has to directly confront his mentor who's trained him to be this perfection, like this perfect prosecutor. So each case in 1 is directly has something to say and grow in Edgeworth's character. In 3, you don't get any real change in Godo's character until you see him from the past. And even in 5, he doesn't really change that much. It's more implied that he's done something good, but he still denies that he's a good person, or he denies. You don't really see any human from him. He's big. The only real human moment you see from Godo is when he accepts right, and when he sees like the final like objection with Mia's ghost. That's the only time you really see something human from Godo in the entirety of Trials and Tribulations.
You know what would have been a good thing to add into?
What?
About like Godo, a lot of his personality revolves around his grudge and stuff. But you know what he was really lacking that would have really added a lot more to him?
What was he lacking?
like anger,
Yeah.
like considering he got poisoned and Mia is dead. Like in case 1-2 of Trials and Tribulation, I don't remember who the killer was, but Godot should have got like really pissed at him. Like he should have gotten
Yeah.
like at the very end, he should have gotten like really uncharacteristically angry
Yeah, it would
at the murderer for killing someone.
But that's
to be like
exactly
you're scum.
That's
And then
exactly
like Phoenix is like, whoa, hold on.
Yeah, no, but that's exactly what I've been trying to say. It's like,
And then
I
like
think
he
if
tones it back, and you're like,
I think even if Godot's anger was unreasonable, he's never shown any real anger throughout the game. There's no reason to buy his anger.
Yeah,
Or-
he should have had more emotional sparks considering what he's been through and what he tells he believes is about his anger and stuff like that. He should have gotten like really emotional at certain intervals that like spike, and then he like draws it back like really fast.
And to add to that, that would have been really, and to add to that, that would have been really good foreshadowing to the whole he was Diego Armando, because Diego Armando twist comes out of nowhere in 3-4.
Diego Armando was also portrayed as being very emotional. Guy kills himself, and then Mia starts crying, and then the dude's like trying to keep a strong face, but he just smashes a coffee cup and starts bleeding on himself. And it's like Godot should have had a moment like that where he's like he has like a big emotional spike where he gets like something happens, and then he like backpedals on it really quickly, and everyone else kind of shrugs it off. But Phoenix is like, why did he get so mad about that?
Yeah, I just
Phoenix alone is like, huh, like.
But yeah. See, if he had a chance to get mad at because they already lead that thing of like, oh, in 1-3, Mia, like there was a defense attorney that died in the thing, and Mia was close to him. That was foreshadowed there. In case 2 or 3, they could have easily had a scene where with Godot, like he didn't even have to be completely go off the handle, but he could have said some very harsh, very biting words, implying something that he had some relationship with. Mia's had some relationship with Mia, and that leading into 3-4, and that would all come together and be a great twist.
Yeah,
we would have had this humanizing moment with Godot. They could have easily addressed that. He didn't kill Mia at that moment, like, and take it from there, but they don't, and it feels like a really wasted, missed opportunity.
Okay, I see where you're coming from. I still dislike Francisca more, but Godot's
more power to you. Francisca's not supposed to be a likable character. If I don't even like Francisca as much.
Like you said earlier, it feels like toward the end of 2, maybe during 3-5, she's supposed to be a likable character. Like she was supposed.
But she's
to
not.
Change.
She's not. She's not.
I agree.
Don't worry. That pisses me off too. Don't worry. Like I wanted to see Francisca grow more, but she's the same. She's just the same character, just toned down a bit.
I need to replay Justice for All because I'm really curious, especially because Tar just finished replaying the updated series. I have Justice for All and Trials and Tribulations on my Nintendo Wii, which I hope that still works. It's covered in spider webs for reference.
It's not different. Like
I'm curious about this because I remember my first playthrough. I didn't have a problem with Francisca, but I don't remember her very well, and that's why I'm like, I gotta recheck.
She's only prosecuted for 2 cases. She's only prosecuted for 2 cases.
She's prosecuted for 3 cases in the entire series.
Well, 3.5.
2.5.
Well, 2.5. Yeah.
2.5.
If you count Francisca's role was
never big.
Anyways, this has been Bros in a Landfill.
Signing off.
Also, hot take. The only good new track in Trials and Tribulations was Announce the Truth. Fuck you, fight me.
I hereby announce my verdict.
Oi! Trials and Tribulations has the best testimony theme in the entire series.
I will argue to the death that I don't. Okay. Trials and Tribulations has really good tracks. The individual tracks are great. I don't like them in regards to their usage, like as a trial, like as trial themes and whatnot. I think it's a testament that when I played the first game, my favorite track in the game was the fucking remix of the first game's corner thing.
That was a nice. Was it also in the situation that it was used in?
I mean, that helped, but definitely that was my favorite track in the game too.
That's fair.
Announce the Truth. But Announce the Truth is the only good, really good new.
You mean the one that was
trial?
Do 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 do
No, that's the object. That's the objective. Like do 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 do
Okay,
do
okay,
do do
okay,
do
all right.
do do. Okay. Bye.
Bye.